Hey guys, how you doing? I hope you enjoyed that long intro. The Ranker is back, here with a special video today. Today we're going to be ranking every Star Wars movie. I should mention though, movies like Rogue One and Han Solo are not going to be included. I'm only looking at movies 1 through 9. It should be an exciting video because I love Star Wars a lot. They've provided me much entertainment, and I really only got into it like a year, maybe 2 years ago. But I'm pretty hooked. Anyways, without any further delay, let's get on with the video. First up, we got the Phantom Menace. For these movies, you guys, I'm going to be giving a little summary for each one as best I can. In Phantom Menace, the Trade Federation cuts off all routes to Naboo, so Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are sent to settle things out. During all this, they save Padme, meet young Anakin, gives him his freedom, Obi-Wan becomes a Jedi Knight, battle droids fight Gungans, and etc. It's pretty much the whole movie. The pros for this movie is that it introduces a legendary character, Darth Maul. The fact that Maul was able to be in one movie and managed to have such a pretty big impact in the Star Wars universe is very impressive in itself. The dude only said like 6 words or something like that. Another pro for this movie is the fact that we got to see Qui-Gon. And even though it's his only movie, I feel as though his performance was pretty okay. It's definitely not the most impressive lightsaber battle that we're going to see with these movies, but they tried. There was a point in time where the first 3 movies were considered some of the worst Star Wars movies, but as we go on, I guess we'll start to see if that's true. However, there are also cons for this movie. Con number 1 is the fact that this movie is kind of boring. As far as Star Wars stories go, it's not the most interesting one. I mean, we see Padme get in trouble a bunch of times. We see young Anakin, which I'm not a huge fan of because I don't like kids in movies. Another thing is that the CGI is really bad. I mean, I get that this movie was made in 1999, so they probably shouldn't have even bothered with the CGI considering it wasn't as good at the time, or nearly as good at the time. And an obvious one is that it introduced Jar Jar Binks. Love him or hate him, he's a character, and we just sort of have to live with that. The dude is sheerly meant for kids, and it shows. Kids ruin everything. As far as Star Wars movies go, it's definitely not the best. So I give it a D. I really should have predetermined my rankings before I made this video, but oh well. Up next we have Attack of the Clones. The Separatists led by Dooku are threatening the Republic, even attempt to kill Padme a couple times. Anakin is assigned to protect Padme. During that, Obi-Wan finds out that the Separatists are creating an army. This causes the Chancellor to unleash the clones into battle. Dooku bests Obi-Wan and Anakin in battle, then escapes while fighting Yoda. Then Anakin secretly marries Padme. It's really a fast summary, but honestly, it's pretty much everything just like the first movie. I can't remember watching this movie too well. All I remember is the first time around I was very tired. It's pretty boring, it's just like the first one. For what it is, it's really just not that entertaining. But anyways, here are the pros. A pro for me is that Anakin kills a ton of Tuskens in this movie. I know Book of Boba Fett tried to get you on the side of the Tuskens, but for me, I'll always hate Tuskens. Honestly, seeing him killing them was really pretty entertaining. I guess another pro is that it's less boring than Phantom Menace. I know I'm using that word a lot, but I don't really know what else to say. To be fair, I haven't watched this movie in a while. I've just been watching short clips to make me remember these movies, but I still think it's not that great. The cons are the bad CGI yet again. Also, Dooku versus Yoda was pretty bad. You'd expect the 2 people that are really experienced with a lightsaber would have like a really epic battle. That wasn't really the case. On top of that, I just don't really like how Yoda looks in these movies. Imagine, they got him better in the 70s. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Another con, and this is a big one for me, it's the fact that some of the characters should have been shot during the Battle of Geonosis. That would be a good time to subscribe, because if you subscribe, that means I'm closer to getting paid by YouTube, and I could buy a new laptop and the videos can look nicer. Please subscribe. But like I was saying, there's just way too many blasters going on for the main characters not to get hit. It's okay though, because they do have plot armor, and that's the ultimate armor you can have. Also, the scene with Jango and Mace Windu. Look, I get that Jango has done some pretty harsh things in the past because he's a bounty hunter and all, but there's no way Mace Windu would just, oh my god! I guess he would. So killing is against the Jedi way, but this is totally logical. You could have just detained him, but no, you had to kill him right in front of his son. That's just messed up, bro. That is not the Jedi way, you hypocrite. I always thought Mace was kind of a hypocrite, but what do you guys think? This movie is a little better than the first one, so I am going to put it a tier above. Now here's where the movies start to get good. Revenge of the Sith. Since Revenge of the Sith has so many things that happen in the movie, I'm just going to highlight on the main parts. It's a pretty epic movie. Anakin kills Dooku, Obi-Wan kills Grievous, Anakin gets denied Jedi Master. Now this is the equivalent of telling your emo son or daughter that they can't go to that emo festival. Palpatine manipulates Anakin into thinking he could save Padme, even though he can't. And that moment was great because we got the most legendary speech of all time. Also, Windu versus Palpatine, Windu's possible death, which is still undecided. We get to see the first appearance of Darth Vader in a way. We also get to see Order 66. Order 66 is probably the most emotional moment for Star Wars fans in Star Wars history. It definitely hits a lot harder if you've ever seen the Clone Wars. But we're not talking about that today. We also get to see Vader kill separatist leaders as well as younglings. Wait, hold up. They killed young people in this movie? Am I watching the right movie? We also see Yoda battle Palpatine, which is definitely a lot better than him versus Dooku. And last but not least, we get to see Anakin get roasted by his brother Obi-Wan. I feel like Obi-Wan has a fetish for just cutting off people's limbs. Pretty dark. I think that's pretty much everything that happens in this movie. I gotta say, this movie was epic as heck. You finally get to see entertainment, you get to see betrayal, you get to see action, you get to see a lot of things that you just didn't get to see in the first two movies. We also see probably the most epic lightsaber battle in Star Wars, Obi-Wan versus Anakin. Overall, I really do like this movie, even if it was made in the early 2000s, which wasn't a great time for Star Wars. The CGI still isn't the greatest, but that's to be expected. The storytelling just makes up for all of that. Aside from CGI, the cons for this movie, I would have to say, are the delivery of some of the lines. Here's some examples.
Liar! You thunder against me!
Also, the pros are all the cool moments that I mentioned. Because why not? It's argued that this movie could be the most emotional Star Wars movie. I give it an A. Now we dive into the original movies that started everything. Star Wars: A New Hope. Rebel forces steal the Empire's Death Star plans. Princess Leia gives the plans to R2-D2 to protect them. R2 and C3 escape to Tatooine, where they get captured by Jawas, then sold to Owen and Beru Lars. While cleaning R2, Luke sees Leia's message to Obi-Wan. He finds Obi-Wan and the two partner up with smuggler Han Solo and Chewbacca. They all get captured by the Empire, save Leia in the process, then Obi-Wan battles Vader. During the battle, he surrenders his life, knowing that Luke and everyone are able to escape. After this, the rebels go back to the base on Yavin 4, discover a weakness of the Death Star, exploit it, and make the whole thing explode. They also get medals at the end. Hey, you killed a ton of people. Here are your medals. My first pro is that this is a movie that started everything. George Lucas's idea, whether it be accurate at all to what he was thinking, it just got conveyed in the coolest way. It shows that you could have an original idea and you can captivate many people. That's something modern Hollywood just doesn't understand. They're not willing to take gambles on original ideas because they'd much rather make remakes for some reason. I don't understand it. If you take a gamble, then you might just have the next Star Wars. But maybe that's kind of a stretch. Another pro is that it introduces all the main Star Wars characters that we know and love. All the iconic ones. Before I even saw a Star Wars movie, I instantly knew many characters, including but not limited to Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Boba Fett, Jabba the Hutt, R2-D2, Chewbacca, and maybe a few others. My con, if I had to choose anything, is when Obi-Wan gets sliced. I know it's the 70s, but come on, that just looks terrible. But what do I know? It's not like I'm a filmmaker. I got hooked pretty easily. I can't argue with that, so I give it an S. I also want to apologize to hardcore Star Wars fans, even though I'm just a casual one. For the longest time, I would talk a lot of trash about Star Wars fans, calling them nerds and everything. And now look at me. I apologize, I'm just really sorry. On with the next movie. Empire Strikes Back. The rebels have a new base on the planet Hoth, but are eventually found by the Empire and their forces. Han and the gang go hide in an asteroid while Luke lands on Dagobah. Luke looks for Yoda because Obi-Wan's Force Ghost told him to. He finds him, doesn't know it's him, finds out it's him, gets denied training, then receives training. Ugh. Then Han and the gang travel to Cloud City to find refuge. He meets up with his old friend Lando Calrissian, who leads him into a trap. This leads Han getting frozen in carbonite and given to Boba Fett. This doesn't bode well with Lando, so he ends up freeing the gang and escaping Cloud City. Meanwhile, Luke ends up encountering Vader, having a lightsaber battle with him, gets his hand chopped off, then finds out he is his father. That's a whole roller coaster of emotions right there. I don't know if I can handle that. I gotta hand it to Luke. That wasn't the best way to handle the situation or something. Anyways, once Luke finds out that Vader is his father, this upsets him so much that he attempts suicide. Just kidding. He does escape though, but denies joining the dark side. He gets saved by the Falcon and then escapes. He also gets a new prosthetic hand. Like father, like son. The movie ends with Lando and Chewie headed to Tatooine to visit Jabba and Boba, and hopefully save Han, as the others look on. Here are the pros for this movie. It's the first time we see Yoda, who is probably the most famous Star Wars character. It's also the first time we see Boba Fett. And even though he didn't do much, he had pretty much the Darth Maul effect. Or I guess Darth Maul had the Boba Fett effect. The Fett effect. It's also the first time we see AT-ATs. I feel like they just look like dogs without a face and made of metal. We also see the epic battle between Vader and Luke. This is probably the most famous scene in Star Wars history. It even has a Mandela effect. It's just iconic. Now here are the cons. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the cons. Don't get me wrong guys, I tried thinking of cons for this movie just to be a little fair, but I couldn't think of any. And for that, how could I give it anything less than an S? It's probably my favorite Star Wars movie personally. What's yours? Let me know in the comments. Up next is the last installment for the original Star Wars movies. Return of the Jedi. The Star Wars Dream Team goes to Tatooine to save Han from Jabba's palace. They do, but Leia becomes a slave in the process. God dang it, Leia. So now they need to save her. They do, and Jabba and Boba die in the process. Or at least we thought about Boba for the longest time. Anyways, Luke goes back to Dagobah where Yoda tells him Darth Vader, aka Anakin, obviously, is in fact his father. And that there's another Skywalker, then dies of old age. Dang, Yoda, way to leave him on a cliffhanger like that. Your father? He is. Dies. Obi-Wan's ghost tells him that Leia is the other Skywalker, and that he has to fight Vader again. The Dream Team goes to Endor to destroy the energy shield generator that's protecting the new Death Star. After that, Luke tells Leia that she is his sister, and that he needs to fight Vader again. Wait, they're related? Am I watching the right movie? Luke confronts Vader and the two meet up with Palpatine. Palpatine gives his pitch on why Luke should join the dark side, and he doesn't. I feel like Palpatine's always sucked at having to convince people. You can save Padme, Anakin. Just join me. Actually, that worked, never mind. Meanwhile, there's a battle going on in space and Endor. And while that's going on, arguably the most important lightsaber battle in history is happening. The battle between good and evil. Also, Vader loses his hand again. Bro, that's like the third time he's lost his hand. When Luke refuses to kill Vader, then Palpatine attempts to kill Luke. This angers Vader so much that he kills Palpatine by yeeting him in the reactor chute. Vader unmasks, then dies. Meanwhile, the rebels win the battle on Endor. They destroy the Death Star, and everybody parties because the Empire's dead. The Empire's dead. The pros are that this movie probably has the first or second best lightsaber duel in Star Wars history. The first duel between Luke and Vader was more iconic, but this one is just more entertaining. The cinematics are also really amazing during this. Luke trying his absolute hardest against somebody who is much more skilled than him. The story was told in an excellent way. This leads to pro number 2, where Vader redeems himself. I guess he was the chosen one after all. It goes to show that even if you make some terrible decisions, if you do one good thing, all that can go away. Another one I forgot to mention before all that is that Jabba died. I didn't like Jabba. Anyone who steals women is not a nice person. Now, there is in fact a con for this movie, but I will say this con did not exist for the longest time, but as we will learn later, the con ends up being created in a new movie. Not gonna lie, this is probably my favorite Star Wars movie, so of course I'm gonna put it up here. It's insane that George Lucas can make 3 gems in a row. Not really any complaints or anything like that. It may not be perfection, but it's really good storytelling. and a great use of imagination. It's a perfect way to end the Star Wars movies, or so we thought. Up next, we have the first modern Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens. 30 years after Return of the Jedi, a new empire has risen, but this time they're called the First Order, and they plan to destroy the New Republic. Leia and the Republic try to find Luke Skywalker because he isolated himself, and he's probably the only one who can save everybody in this situation. A Resistance pilot, Poe Dameron, receives a map of where Luke is hiding, but then Kylo Ren-led stormtroopers plan to steal them, so BB-8 escapes with the plans. Pretty original plot, right? BB-8 runs into Rey, who is a junkyard scavenger. Meanwhile, Kylo learns where the map is by torturing Poe. Then a stormtrooper later named Finn decides not to be evil anymore. Just like that. Then Finn joins Poe. After crash landing, Finn runs into Rey. They partner up, then escape the First Order by using the Millennium Falcon, which happened to be in a junkyard. Also, she managed to fly that thing without any proper experience, like, alright. They run into old Han and Chewbacca, who want their shit back, ultimately leading to all them teaming up and getting BB-8's map to the Resistance. They go to Takodana for help, but end up finding Anakin's lightsaber in some bar. I don't even know. Rey gets captured and manages to fight off all Kylo's mind-reading abilities with the Force. Hold up, she's able to use the Force without training? Already? Pretty impressive. Later on, Han, Chewie, and Finn save Rey. Han gets killed by his son, Chewbacca goes crazy angry and ends up destroying everything. After that, Rey and Kylo have a lightsaber battle, but the planet ends up collapsing, creating a tie. They follow the map, find Luke, and that's the end. As you can tell from my tone, it's not the greatest movie and I don't like it. Funny thing was, when I was first getting into Star Wars, I didn't really have a problem with it, but I guess I just didn't know. Having said that, there are in fact pros, and the pros are the visuals. Lightsaber battles, the stormtroopers, they look so clean, the colors are really vivid. It's nice to see these movies in super high quality rather than the 70s quality that we had. Very nicely presented. Now for the cons. Con number 1 is that there are too many similarities to the old movies. Think about it, a droid has to escape with plans to keep them safe, and they need to kill something similar to the Death Star. Another con is that they humanize stormtroopers. Let me explain. When you humanize a stormtrooper, you're ultimately saying that they can be reformed to the good side. So if you don't do that, then you're pretty much killing a bunch of people that could be reformed. So in a way, you're killing innocent people. It's not like before when you were just killing people that were unchangeable. That's pretty warranted for death, but not killing somebody who could be reformed. Much less a ton of people that could be reformed. It kind of ruins past movies. It makes the Resistance look bad. Also, Han died a loser. How are you going to be divorced to your wife? 3 movies built this whole relationship between them up, ultimately just to say that they end up divorcing? So what was the build-up for? The main con I would say is that everything pretty much came easy for Rey. Like I said, she was able to drive the Millennium Falcon even though she had no idea how to do that, and she was able to fight off Kylo Ren's Force abilities. Now, Kylo had training, or at least a little bit more, and she shouldn't have stood a chance against Kylo. Force Awakens. Those were some pretty bad cons, so of course I'm going to give you an F. Phantom Menace was boring, but it wasn't bad. Up next, we have The Last Jedi. The Resistance are fighting the First Order again in space, when Resistance casualties happen under Poe's command. Also, Leia becomes incapacitated after a TIE fighter attack. So Vice Admiral Holdo is next in command, but Poe doesn't like her strategies, so he gathers mechanic Rose Tico, Finn, and BB-8 to disable the tracking device. Meanwhile, Rey asks Luke for help, but Luke refuses given his past failures with trying to turn Kylo into a Jedi. Rey leaves and tries to convert Kylo back to good, then Yoda destroys a Jedi library, seeing it as unnecessary for Rey, and that Luke should learn from his past mistakes. Finn, Rose, and BB-8 try getting help from a hacker, but end up getting captured by Phasma. Meanwhile, Snoke orders Kylo to kill Rey, but he ends up killing him instead. Rey refuses to rule the galaxy with Kylo, resulting in Anakin's lightsaber getting destroyed. Holdo sacrifices herself for the Resistance to escape from Snoke's fleet. Rose, Finn, and BB-8 destroy Phasma. Then we see a battle happen on Crate. Luke's force projection causes a distraction for the Resistance to escape, which they do with the help of Rey using force to move rocks. Luke dies, but Leia and the Resistance seem pretty optimistic about the future, and we get what seems like spin-off material with some kid. I know I probably missed a lot of parts, but this movie has a lot of things that happen in it, so I don't care. I'm tired of making this video. The pros, once again, are the visuals, but here are the other pros. We get to see meme gold. however, there are a ton of cons. This movie introduced some of the most subpar characters you could ever imagine. Rose, Holdo, DJ, Phasma, and even Snoke. They had some stories that we just didn't care about, or at least I know I didn't. Like Holdo sacrificing herself, I didn't care about that in the slightest. Watching it, I was actually happy when she was gone. Also, Rose attempting suicide to save the Resistance. Why would I care if she did or not? It's not like she's a long-lasting character that we had plenty of other movies to learn about or even care about. Also, that thing with the kid at the end, like, this is a Star Wars movie. You think I care for spin-off material? I don't care about no kids. Not even young Anakin. Another con is that Kylo comes off as a brat rather than a ruler. He acts like an emo son who got denied access to an emo festival. He's trying to be like Vader, but ultimately he's not succeeding. My biggest con, however, and I'm probably not going to be able to do it justice with this video, they made a mockery of Luke Skywalker. Luke is a very iconic heroic symbol for children and adults everywhere, and you make a mockery of him. Somebody who was once a hero that saved the entire galaxy, reduced to a loser. The old Luke wouldn't have quit so easily just because he had some hardship to deal with. He would face it head on. I can go on and on about that, but I'm not going to, just to keep it short. I'm positive there was other cons in this movie, but I can't get to all of them. For our last entry, we have the Rise of Skywalker. Great title. A message made by Palpatine is heard throughout the galaxy. Palpatine? You can't mean to tell me he survived that. There is no way you can mean to tell me that he survived that. Kylo gets the Sith Wayfinder, which lets him find Palpatine's whereabouts on Exegol, where Palp explains that he's been trying to get Kylo to join the dark side. He reveals the Final Order, which is basically a ton of Star Destroyers. And then he tells Kylo that he needs to kill Rey. Rey finally gets training, imagine that. The new gang try to find a Wayfinder to find Palpatine. Kylo discovers their plan with the Force and unleashes an attack against them. The gang finds a clue to the Wayfinder, which eventually leads them to an Endor moon. Rey finds the Wayfinder, then has a duel with Kylo. She strikes him, then Force heals him. After finding out that Leia died, then leaves. Kylo has a chat with Ghost Han, which is enough to turn him to the good side. Apparently that's all it took. On Exegol, Palp tries to convince Rey to kill him and let his spirit go inside her. Gross. Rey and Kylo find Palp, eventually leading to Palp's death by Rey, and Kylo's death by Palp. The two kiss, the Resistance beats the Star Destroyers, and they celebrate. Rey buries the Skywalker lightsabers, which would infuriate Anakin. Then when asked who she is, she says Rey Skywalker. More like Rey Palpatine. The pros, the visuals, the cons. It's a waste of a great title. The Rise of Skywalker makes it seem like Luke is going to have some kind of redemption for those past two terrible movies, but no. If anything, we don't really get to see him at all. Also, way too many things happen in this movie. My summary was very short and for good reason. There are so many things that I didn't talk about because this movie goes on, different location. It's terrible. I remember having a headache after I watched this movie. And the obvious, Palpatine survived, which ultimately makes Return of the Jedi pointless. It also ruins the point of Anakin being the chosen one. What was he chosen for? Also, Rey pulling that entire ship with the Force just with one hand is way too overpowered. We saw Yoda doing the same thing, but it obviously looked like he was struggling and doing it much slower. Also, Kylo got reverted to the good side way too easily. He had a chat with his father and that was enough? If that's all it took to revert him, then why was Luke so scared of him? It doesn't make sense. Also, I would say the biggest one is Force healing. Force healing essentially gets rid of all stakes with these Star Wars movies. I'm gonna let this comment explain pretty much why it is the worst idea. The last con is that Rey identified as a Skywalker. You're not a Skywalker and you never will be. I know this part of the video might have seemed rushed to you guys and you probably already know where this is going. F. Impressive, no B's. I'm just trying to end this video. I'm using my second battery for my camera because the first battery died. Anyways guys, there you have it, the Star Wars movie tier list. I hope you enjoyed this video. It took a while to make. Star Wars is something near and dear to my heart. I really enjoy these movies, even though I've only been invested in it for about a year, maybe two. It's just so impactful when you finally get to know all the stories and everything. Really excellent writing for the most part. If you disagree with me, let me know. If I'm wrong about something, let me know, because I'm probably not going to be right about everything I said. I also want to thank this YouTube channel for showing me 4-minute clips of each movie. It was really helpful. Anyways, I don't know what I'm doing or saying, so peace.